And welcome back. Well, now let's talk everything relating to round 11 of the Betfred Super League. The Wembley finalists have been locked in. So let's talk about one of the teams that got eliminated in the Challenge Cup semi-finals as the Catalan Dragons stay in Britain another week, making the trip out to St Helens to kick off round 11. Now, Mark, Catalan, of course, much anticipation for them to return to the big dance at Wembley for the second time in their club's history. Unfortunately, Hull KR had completely other ideas.
They definitely did, but when you look at it overall, like even in the Super League, Hull KR just been up way better all season. So having an extra game, well, not really an extra game, but like extra games thrown at them after a lot of the other Super League clubs have been knocked out and that, they've been still steady as she goes. So, but Catalan's getting knocked out. They've been there or thereabouts in Challenge Cup over the last previous years.
Outside of the first quarter of the game, where they looked like they might have had anything to do with it, it didn't turn out that way. They let Hull KR run in 6 tries after that and booked their place to Wembley. So they needed a reset after a bit of topsy-turvy form at the moment. Of course, let the Leopards pip them at the post at Magic Weekend at St James's Park in Newcastle. And I mean, they're sitting 7th on the table, 5 wins, 5 losses. There were some winnable games Catalan had in and amongst that after the slow start. Now that they're looking at St Helens, they're just 1 win. Actually, I should say, they're equal points on the table. A win for either side will ensure either they stay in the top 6 another week or they actually break into the 6.
Depending on the results of the other games as well, mind you.
Now, we will have full transparency for this one. We do not have the team sheets for the Super League. Of course, they get published 24 hours before kickoff, respectively, and we don't have any full injury details at the moment either, so what we say here always is with a grain of salt. One thing we do know for sure is that Elliot Whitehead will not line up for the Catalan Dragons. He was suspended out of that semi-final clash with the Robins, so he will not take part, and that is an absolute fact we can guarantee.
Well, absolutely is, but is that going to hurt Catalan's coming up against the St Helens side that, haven't been quite themselves, but it could be a deciding factor.
They only posted 1 try against the Leeds Rhinos. Now, considering Saint started on fire and then spotted after they lost to Hull KR the first time, have now dropped up 4 games in that same period. I don't know where either of these two sides, in all honesty, are at the moment. First it was Sailor at 5'8", if he was a gun, then no, let's maybe move him to fullback, bring Jax Wellesby onto the ball a bit more. Then it was maybe Johnny Lomax isn't working at scrum half, or give George Whitby, we'll blood him in there. Where is this side going at the moment? Because they've been in matches, and they have also been out of them.
Well, they definitely need to have a consistent halves and some leader to steer them around the park. So, like you just said, having that many changes is not helping their cause at all. So then they stick with someone, barring injuries and suspensions, stick with someone and flow with it and see that what happens. Stick with your best halves combos or any combo across the field and you'll be sweet.
The concerning thing for St Helens at the moment, they've only had 1 win in their last 5 starts. That was against Wakefield at home. Since then, Good Friday, went down to Wigan. Lost a winnable game against the Warrington Wolves. That's the 3rd time they've lost to Warrington this year. And then they've only posted 1 try against Leeds at the Magic Weekend. And in all of that time, as well, looking at the Rugby League project in front of me and how the breakdown of the players has gone, Johnny Lomax only got recalled to the bench in round 10. He got dropped after the quarterfinal exit. But George Whitby, who in that time hasn't had the best run of trying to spark the Saints' attack either.
A young, inexperienced player or an old head that's got heaps of, not saying Johnny Lomax is old, but he's been around the game for a long, long time. So who would he go with? If it was me coaching St Helens, I would go with the experienced head.
Well, Lomax is 34 years of age, and we touched on this before, but I don't know where they're at the moment. With the caliber of players they had, even though they've been missing Harry Robertson long term, they're missing Carl Felt long term, Conrad Hurrell seems to always be up in the air at the moment. The forward pack otherwise is, for the moment, still intact. They still got
At the
Wolseley and
moment.
Lees up front. They've still got Darryl Clark, Moses Mbai, the hooker rotation, and Morgan Knowles. That forward pack's not going to last too much longer. It's all going to get broken up at the end of the season.
Absolutely.
And I don't know where they're going to play it at the moment. I'm sorry.
Well,
I just don't. And now that you've got Eon Cross in the backs to try and stabilise the ship and combinations.
Let's just say St. Helens are in uncharted territory.
They're
When
in
was the
trouble.
last time they were in a situation like this? Many years ago, like over 5 years ago.
It is to my belief, and that still rings true, that since Super League has begun, the Saints have not missed the playoffs.
They're in danger. I know we're still.
We're still a third of the way through the season, and things could still swap. But I'm looking at the big Catalan pack where you got Pangai Jr., Ollie Partington starting in that middle third rotation early on, and then you can bring someone like Chris Satai onto the ball or later on. And if Luke Keary gets his kicking game right again, and Guillermo Aspiro Bichet, regardless of what they do with Sam Tompkins after that, he's the spark that's really helped the Catalan Dragons to this point.
He definitely has been, and I think whoever loses this game will not make the playoffs. There you go. Whoever loses will not play on.
Now, don't get me wrong. If Saints get it right, they are up there with the best. But at the
Oh,
moment,
absolutely, they are.
I got to give it to the Catalan Dragons, who are stuck in. Well, they're in England at the moment. They'll be fired up after a narrow loss at Magic and then getting bundled out of the semi-finals by the Robins. I think Steve McNamara will want to galvanise his team to finally put the foot down and say, all right, we had a couple of tough losses in the last 2 weeks. Let's start building a season for the second third and into the second half of the year. So I think the Catalan Dragons, 1-6 winners, and I think Luke Keary will play a big role in that.
Well, when you look at, I know this is looking ahead, we'll touch on in the next couple of weeks, but after this week, they've got 2 home games. That could rejuvenate them for the next portion of the season. I'm going to go with St. Helens, 1-6. It's a 50-50 game, but St. Helens at Totally Wicked are generally pretty good. So win like 98% of the time there.
So you're playing on the ear of never write off the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going to have to this time.
All right, well, you're a braver man than me. Now, moving on to the next game coming up. It is the Wigan Warriors once again at home to the Lee Leopards. Oh, God. Another close game on the cards right here.
You're not wrong, eh?
We're at the Brick Community Stadium. It's another showdown between Wigan and Lee at the moment.
Well,
Of course,
second versus third.
Leopards will be licking their wounds after Mark Sneed booted the Warrington Wolves to victory in the Cup semi-final at St. Helens, no less.
True.
Yes, meantime, Wigan, they would have enjoyed a good break after almost having their pants pulled down by that very same Warrington Wolves team at the Magic Weekend.
Not wrong there.
Well rested. I think that no real injury concerns for Wigan at the moment. And you just got to say it. Field, French, Smith, and Semba. Those are the 4 players, the big 4 of the Wigan Warriors, that are doing all the damage at the moment.
Not just for this season, last season as well. Well, you know, they're linking up nicely. They're sitting second in the ladder, 2 points behind competition leader Hull KR, but only 1 point ahead of opposition of the Lee Leopards. So, could Wigan capitalise on a Hull KR tied Hull KR set?
Getting bundled out of the Challenge Cup in the 4th round has probably been the best thing for Wigan at the moment.
Oh, absolutely.
After a narrow loss to Leeds at Headingley, they have been flawless ever since. They stuck it to Hull KR, are in the 7th round, and they have just been on a tear ever since at the moment. And with a favourable draw coming up, even though they've got road trips to France and to Huddersfield coming up in desperate win situations, this Wigan Warriors team once again laying down the law as we speak.
Yeah, contenders for playoffs. No doubt about it. Is
More,
this
more than contenders for playoffs?
contenders for the title?
They'll be going for their own three-peat now.
But could we see Is this an early preview of playoffs with these two
I
sides?
wouldn't be surprised if it was. I genuinely think they will have remembered the fact that they only lost to Lee early on in the year. 1-0.
That's right. That was the like a soccer score
This is the
or
first
football
time they will
score,
meet since that 1-0 loss.
and that was in extra time. No, it didn't go to extra time. I actually don't know. No,
I think it did go to Golden Point, but Lee booted them home by a single point.
that was unbelievable. Could we see a repeat of that? I don't think we would, considering how far into the season we are. I mean, it's been 10 weeks since then, so, and they're starting to find their feet and find their patterns and rhythms and the likes and that. I don't think we'll see that, but we'll see another very close competitive game in my eyes.
Well, the big difference was Mark Sneed coming in, and despite scoring 3 tries and fighting their way back into 15-14 territory, it was just or close to 15-14 territory. It's just unfortunate that Mark Sneed proved all the difference, and the fact that they gave away 7 penalties. Adrian Lamb would, rightfully so, wouldn't have been happy with the performance of
Definitely
that.
not.
Denied them a second trip to Wembley in 3 years.
Definitely not. And he want to rejuvenate the team by so all right, we've made a lot of errors last week. Let's cut that out this week. Play on. Get back to our rhythm of what we're used to doing.
Ultimately, I think it's going to be another cracking game. We got a couple of top 4 teams at the moment. Lee hanging on with that draw. I think roughly third at the moment.
Yes, they are third. It's second versus third.
Second versus third on the table at the moment. 2 high quality sides, but I think we'll see once again the Wigan Warriors are just a step above them all.
Yeah.
I think you look at the particular battle on the edges. I think Junior and Sember will be more than likely, I think, Ethan O'Neill on the right-hand edge, or would it be Jack Hughes opposite him?
Probably Jack Hughes, I would think. I could be wrong.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that. But I just think you look at that left edge in particular, and that's where Harry Smith likes to sit down, and he's got Jake Wardle there, he's got Liam Marshall. Junior and Sember will be a real handful. If he starts getting 7 or 8 tackle busts going and throwing a couple of offloads and a line break, you're going to be in for a big afternoon.
Absolutely, it would be.
And everyone's going to be fit for Lee, so that's good news for them. But I just think Wigan will have not forgotten what happened last time they met. I think the Wigan Warriors win this, and I think they're in a mood at the moment, Wigan. And I think if they're in a mood, there's going to be tries flying out left, right, and centre. So I'm going to go big here. I think the Wigan Warriors win this one 13-20, and I think Bevan French will be tearing them up.
13 that is a big margin. Look, they're both playing very well as of late. But like you said, Wigan wouldn't have forgotten what happened round 1. I'm going to go Wigan wins 1-6. It'll be another very close, entertaining matchup.
And the third game on the Saturday morning for us, it'd be Friday night at UK time. It'd be the Leeds Rhinos at home to Hull FC. So other members of the top 6 will be going at it as well. With the 4th place Leeds taking on the 5th place Hull.
Yep.
Interesting response John Cartwright will have to produce after becoming the first team to lose to the Huddersfield Giants this year.
Yeah, in a shocking fashion.
And the fact that Liam Knight got red carded like that.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
unbelievable that was.
Was that worth a red card, do you think?
Nah.
The way he got sent off?
No way. Maybe a yellow card, yes, but not a red. That was a bit too harsh in my opinion, but anyway. I wasn't there.
The fact that their attack spluttered against Huddersfield, of all sides, one of the 2 sides that you felt like you could get a guaranteed win out of, that was just embarrassing, especially with the forward pack. And I know I'd be talking about that, but Aiden Caesar should not have let Huddersfield into that game whatsoever.
Nah.
He should have been able to put Will Price onto the ball early, and he should have been able to bring the backs in as well, whether it be Litton, Lewis Martin, or Tom Briscoe and Jordan Rapiner.
Yeah.
If they're playing their last game against Huddersfield, and they should not have been in that position.
No.
And I think you're coming into a very dangerous climate at AMT Headingley in Leeds, because Brad Arthur's got that side humming as well. And if he gets Brody Croft back in at last, because he's got Cameron Smith would probably be close to returning. He's got Andy Acker's already back, I believe. You always have to double check these things. It's the best we do. But I'm looking at Leeds at the moment. Comfortable at home, comfortable where they are on the table. 6-4 at the moment.
Yeah, 6-4 and on 12 competition points. Again, like Wigan, at 1 point ahead of the opposition.
Well,
Competition point, that is.
they didn't actually have Andy Ackers for all that game. They actually had Jared O'Connor starting. But if they get Ackers back at long last, they get Brody Croft back, and they get Cameron Smith back as well.
That would be a dangerous lead side.
And even if you keep James McDonald and Morgan Gannon on an edge, each one of them presents their own challenge. And Jake Connor floating in and out, causing all sorts of havoc with his kicking game, you're going to be in for a tougher afternoon. Look, I got to give the home ground advantage to the Leeds Rhinos here. I think Lachlan Miller, Will Price, that'll be a good fullback battle to watch. But for me, it's Leeds at home, 7-12. I think they'll just play it hard and fast, punch through the edges, and just set them up clean as you like.
I've gone the flip side. I've gone Hull FC in this one. It's another. The first couple of games are absolute cracking games. But Hull FC are doing a lot better than what I expected. Leeds are higher than where I thought. I thought it would have been a bit like maybe 5th or 6th, not 4th. But yeah, I'm going to go Hull FC this one 1-6.
So one sticking with the home side, the other backing an upset.
Got to do something different sometimes.
Now for our only Sunday game, we have got Hull KR at home to the Huddersfield Giants. How tempted do you think Willie Pieces will be to be resting players for this one?
Well, could the same thing happen though? To what happened to Hull FC?
Think about it. Hull KR won big at the weekend. Do you think he'd be willing to be resting play? Is heading into another league match, knowing that in about not too far away, he'll be at Wembley against the Warrington Wolves.
True.
Would you be resting players just for this game and then bring them back for a bigger clash?
But will that upset their momentum though? Like they've only had one loss all year, 2 points in front of Wigan. If Wigan win and Hull KR are going to lose, they'll lose that top spot based on for and against. What a difference.
It's all about player management and fatigue.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's the big thing that Willie Pieces will be thinking about.
Look, maybe for just this week against like an opposition that, let's just say, is an easy opposition, because the week after, they play Warrington away. So, and then they'll probably have the cup tie after that. So, I probably would, but I still reckon they might be there, though. Like, get the job done. Depending on how many players they rest and who they rest, though, is the next problem. Who do you rest?
Mikey Lewis, obviously. He's a key player.
But who else?
Well, if they get Niall Evalds back in quick fashion. But other than that, Jack Broadbent is capable of filling in at fullback. Artur Morg will be there, if he is fit. But of course, we don't know that for certain. But they got depth, Hull KR, that they can work. So they could probably take a chance from some key players. Like they rested Jared Warrior-Hargreaves from the match against Salford, and he came out at the other side just fine.
Exactly, that is true. But that's the sort of player where Hargreaves sees too. So, yeah, it might not. But, yeah, with the big game coming up in Challenge Cup final, you want to have your full strength.
That's still a month away.
But still, you want to, like you said, manage your player fatigue so they're not all burnt out. And then come the end of the season where it's heading to playoffs, you don't want to lose in the playoffs after doing so well in the regular season. So
it's a luxury he could have, but I think realistically he still might go full strength after that height, and then he'll have to manage the Wembley hangover after that. So if in the event that we do think it will be a full-strength Robins side, I just think it will be a Hull KR clean victory.
Oh, easy.
First in the 20, most likely.
Look, even if it's not a full-strength Hull KR side, they're still going to win this one 13. Yeah, if it's not full strength 13 and 20, if it's full strength 21 plus.
Both big winners for Hull KR.
Well, yeah, given the top of the ladder, so yeah.
And finally, we've got 2 games Monday morning or Sunday afternoon. We've got Wakefield at home to the Warrington Wolves, the other Wembley finalist after getting out to a good lead against Lee early and then managing the game home. Big blessing for Sam Burgess. Mark Sneed back after having no halves in his last start loss to the Wigan Warriors.
Yeah, that was. I mean, and that hurt them too, being against a top opposition like Wigan.
The defending champs, no less.
Well, that too, yeah. The two of the bigger clubs in the Super League, and having no halves could do a little bit of damage, but they'll recover from that. Especially having Sneed back, we all know what he's very, very capable of.
Now, Wakefield will be riding high after all that confidence at Newcastle, where they laid on that 32-8 smackdown of the Castleford Tigers.
It is Castleford too.
How about Caius Artilli? How good was he in the middle?
Absolutely unreal.
And once again, Mike McMeekin, a warrior in the middle for the Trinity as well. But surprisingly, Wakefield's home record, not exactly the rosiest thing, you could say. They've only had 1 home win in their last 3.
You're right. And that was against
The Castleford Tigers, no
well,
less.
then that was
They played twice in 2 weeks.
You're right.
So despite sitting 8th at the moment, they have not had the best home run at all. They lost their first 2 home games of the season to Hull KR and Saints. Well, actually, they lost their first 4 home games before finally beating Castleford at home. So, of 5 home games, they've only won 20% of the time. Warrington, of course, Mark Sneed's back. They might get George Williams back at this point, if not. But they're in a much healthier position than what they were, and I think his kicking game is crucial here. When you got Jake Truman, Mason Leno on the other side of the ball, that's key.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a Sneed-Williams combination, who would take control of organising the pack? And who would be the ball runner?
Well, Williams is the ball runner. His running game is absolutely strong.
But that will be... If that combination gets firing, watch out, because I reckon if they stay fit for the rest of the season, well, Williams and Sneed stay fit for the rest of the season, Warrington could be on a late... I know it's still not even halfway yet, but they could make a long charge to the playoffs.
I'm in favour of the Warrington Wolves here. I think they'll get a good kick out of getting Mark Sneed back at the right time, and with a good run on some challenging games and some easy wins, if they can get a couple of good scalps here and there, I think they'll be well positioned when they go to Wembley in the early stages of June. For me, the Wolves win 7-12.
You know what? I've gone the opposite again. I've gone Wakefield.
And finally,
Wakefield 1-6. Sorry, I didn't say
1-6.
Wakefield 1-6 and another upset.
And finally, we have the Castleford Tigers at the Jungle to the chief executive-less Salford Red Devils.
Just more dramas in the city of Salford.
Has there been any more talk of any players leaving at the moment?
For once, in a matter of a few weeks, I don't think there is.
Have you found a CEO yet?
No.
So, the guy that was put on by the Berta leadership team, the ownership team of the Swiss banker and the Swiss financier with the people in LA who are supposedly pouring money into Salford, who are actually only interested in the land around the stadium and not the team itself, who suffered the worst loss in the history of Super League in the summer era, who have burned through more players than any other club at the moment.
What, we're up to 50-odd players used?
And who has spent well beyond their means for God knows how long. I think the setup here is almost perfect, isn't it?
What, will get relegated?
Castleford.
Oh, yeah, easy.
Castleford, 7-12, Elvin.
What? Magic Weekend got belted 54-0. I mean, that was first, last. Salford have the worst differential on minus 331 with 1 win. 1 sole win.
And you'll go to your 10th loss
Yeah, I am again not very confident with Salford at all this year. We are gone. We're seriously relegated. We're no longer Super League worthy. I don't think that's very big to say, but it's the truth. Tigers win this one, 13-20.
Well, they've already lost to Castleford all the way back in round 4 when it was tight. Nothing came of it. But since then, they had the win against Bradford in the Cup. They beat Huddersfield at home, but since then, 54-0 loss to Wigan. Let's just focus on the league fixtures. 28-0 loss to the Leeds Rhinos. 38-10 and loss to the Catalan Dragons in their second meeting following the Challenge Cup quarterfinals. 28-6 to Leeds. 54-0 to Hull KR.
Yep. Plus, even the start of the season, like 82-0 shellacking against St. Helens.
42-0 loss to Hull KR in round 3. 32-6 loss to the Leeds Rhinos. They have not cleared 20 points since, March. That's the sad state of affairs at Salford. Yep. And I'm thinking of their IMG score at the moment.
That's going to get going down and down. That's going to keep going down.
Very tentative. The last time they checked in on that, and this the whole categorization for the licensing these days.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm looking at what Salford's score is at the moment, heading into 2025.
Well, wasn't it great to start off
heading
with?
into 2026, I do apologize. 9 Super League clubs got an Class A license.
Salford weren't one of them.
No, Salford's score was at the lowest end of the table with a 13.97 of an IMG score. Finances hurt them. Results are going to hurt them this time. So, I'm looking at the championship only just. Toulouse, score of 13.58. London Broncos, 12.57. Salford are going to go below a 12.5 at this point on the current track. They still have debts that are mounting. The players are basically lucky if they get paid on time. They have no front office figurehead. And these owners are nowhere to be seen.
Yep. I'll be very surprised if Salford exists as a club next year. I mean, I don't know about their academies and their academy team and the women's, but I don't see after this is the 151st year. I'm gonna say it, and it's gonna be hard to say it. And everyone can criticize me all they want. They might be folding at the end. I reckon they could fold at the end of the season and no more Salford.
And there goes 150 years right there.
It could be wrong. I hope it doesn't come to that way. But the financial things that's been going on with Salford this year, no CEO, the owners are nowhere, like you said. The amount of top-class players we've lost since the start of the season, really. We're looking for a new head coach who will want to come and coach us next year. No one.
You already have a head coach for next year. So it's a question you'll have a club for next year.
Yeah, that's my bad. But
it's
still.
Kurt Haggerty, and he's going to be walking into hellfire.
Yep, but that's not Paul Rowley's fault.
Not far from it. He's been dealt a bad hand. Whether or not he's overspent on the salary cap is another thing.
But yeah.
But we're just waiting for the next twist in this sad Salford saga.
Yep. Get your merchandise while you can, folks.
Now, on to more positive news, of course. The first Ashes series is very optimistic at the moment. The second and the third tests, of course, already sold out. Wembley is set to be, hopefully, a big occasion for the first test. What do we reckon AJ Brimson defecting to the Poms?
That has caught me by surprise, to be quite honest with you. I don't know how far back that goes in his...
Well, it seems he's playing the heritage rule because I believe one of his parents was actually from Britain. So
well, there you go.
He can, like Sam Walker could, technically claim that he's got British heritage and he could pull on the Cross of St. George rather than play for Queensland, which... But, I mean, in AJ Brimson's case, with the quality of the halves they have at the moment, England captain George Williams, Harry Smith, even if you look a little bit further down with the likes of Mark Sneed, how realistic is he to actually play for Sean Wayne's squad come the first test in London?
Probably unlikely, but I wouldn't discount it. He could be in the squad, but late season injuries could rule him out.
Well, case of Matty Nicholson, up to 3 months, that could hurt securing a spot in the Ashes squad.
But I wouldn't discount it though. He would be. I'm saying this now. He'll be in the squad. Whether or not he plays.
Don't forget Mikey Lewis, reigning Man of Steel.
Well, Michael Lewis will definitely be there.
He'll be there. Lewis, Williams, and Smith will all be the key halves Sean Wayne takes into a squad of 24.
Yeah.
And then you got Jack Wellsby, you can play standoff as well as full all-back on top of that as well.
Well, Brimson can play full-back as well.
But past Jack Wellsby, fat chance.
No. Exactly.
You would not put AJ Brimson in front of Jack Wellsby.
God, no. But I wouldn't he'll be in the squad, but whether or not he plays is a different story. But he could be there as like a backup player if injuries occur.
The only Australian-based English player that I think could actually get picked for the Ashes this year
Dominic Young
is Victor Radley.
Oh, Victor Radley.
The only Australian-born
Englishman
yeah,
my bad.
is Victor Radley. He will be the most likely one picked. Now, as someone who's looking at this and thinking, well, this is just a cop-out, you're just taking... Morgan Knowles would realistically be starting at lock for England if it wasn't for Victor Radley. That's just the way it is. That's the way the eligibility cookie crumbles. If you declare for England, you can play for England, even if you were born in, say, in Victor Radley's case in Bronte, grew up as a Roosters junior, if they even exist, which they do, but not to the extent that some other clubs have it.
Yeah, exactly. But
I'm looking forward to the Ashes.
One of them could be on the bench.
Honestly, I'm looking forward to the Ashes.
It would be good to see the Ashes come back after, how many years they've been in hiatus?
The last one was 2003, so more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're willing to come out in 2028, we'll have to keep an eye on it. But if they do, hallelujah.
Well, yeah, if it comes out in 2028 to Australian soil, well, I presume it will be Australian soil.
Well, you have to think at the moment, Pacific Championships this year,
yeah,
it'd be New Zealand, Samoa, and Tonga.
Yeah.
They would be playing it. Then it'd go on ice because it'd be the World Cup, so they would have no tournaments during that time while the World Cup plays.
Yep.
Then you'd probably send the Kiwis back to England again for the Baskerville Shield, the basketball series, and then maybe you'd have the Ashes out here if they are committed to every 3 years from this point moving forward.
Yeah.
So then you'd have Australia sub out again, maybe, or you'd have someone else. But just keep the calendar consistent heading into the 2030 World Cup.
Absolutely. And the more, yes, I know the more postseason comp there is means less of a break for those players involved, but it reignites the international stage.
And that's what 20 teams in the NRL would do. You'd have everyone play each other at least once, and then maybe 2 or 3 games extra. You'd create a larger window for the international scene where you could have possibly a Pacific Championships and an Ashes running in the same year, which of course we're doing at the moment. But of course the Kangaroos would probably stay in the Southern Hemisphere and not let the Poms out of the North whatsoever.
Exactly.
But that's things we'll hash out in the calendar. They'll get reassessed once we get to that 20-team threshold in the NRL and whatever happens with the NRL Europe project if things progress with the takeover or the acquisition of a stake in Super League.
Exactly. But we don't know when that 20th team will come in. We've got one coming in 2027 and one coming in 2028. So
we'll just see how this plays out, especially with the NRL Europe project that is being floated around at the moment with the NRL wanting to buy a third of Super League and, of course, rejigging it completely from top to bottom. But we'll leave it that one there because that is full time from us. If you like this part or the NRL part we uploaded prior, make sure you leave us a like, hit that subscribe button and click the bell to allow for notifications so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and on X at SideChatYT, and that is our hashtag. Hope you enjoy all the rugby league action this weekend, and we'll try and catch you in the next one, along with Mark Henry. I'm Con Marcellus, and you have been listening to the Sideline Chat. We'll catch you in the next one.